day here in Texas, so bear with me. You know how we always make a reading goal every year? Well, last year, this time, I literally was like 4 books ahead of my reading goal, and this year I'm actually like 4 books behind. So it's really not ideally for me, especially because I did set my reading goal higher this year. So I really need to get going with, you know, reading. And what better way to catch up to our reading goals than to actually do a 24-hour reading challenge. Usually I like to do a full-on 24 hours where I just, you know, like started and then ended the next day. I currently have 2 phones because I got a new phone and this one I do have to return, but in the meantime I'm gonna be using it as my actual alarm because I will not be touching this. This is not going to be touched at all. I'm gonna be reading as much as I can in 24 hours. So I'm actually gonna put the timer now because we are a little bit behind schedule. I took a little too long getting ready in the morning, so I really need to start this. So yeah, we're gonna start the timer. This phone is not gonna be touched at all. The first book that we're gonna be reading is probably This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. Did I already read this? Wait, hold on. I already read this book. Okay, well, never mind. And I actually read it for a 24-hour reading challenge. All right, never mind. Scratch that. We're not gonna be reading this because I already did. Okay, you know what? We're actually gonna go still summer and read the X Vows. I know I didn't read this one because I literally purchased it like a couple months ago. So this will be my first book by this author. So I'm really excited. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know why, but this book has gotten a lot of hype and I'm just nervous that I'm not gonna understand it. And that usually happens with a lot of books that become really popular. Like I'm so afraid to read them because they just like are loved so much that I feel like I kind of have to love it as well. But yeah, without further ado, let's actually go ahead and start our timer. Pages in, and basically what I've gathered is this is a second chance trope, and I'm not really a huge fan of them, mostly because anytime that there is that trope, there's a reason why they broke up in the first place, and usually those reasons are so just really dumb in my opinion, where it just feels like they could have talked it out and everything would have been fine. And that just happens a lot in these tropes and in these kinds of books in general. So I kind of have like an inkling that that's just how this book is gonna go. A lot of these also have this type of trope where like they resent the other person because they like work too much, they're like workaholics and like different things like that. And it's like, well, you've known each other for a very long time, you know the type of person that they are, so you know that, you know, their whole life revolves around working and just, you know, being perfectionists. I don't know, I'm kind of like in between with this book, where there are some parts that I really like the side characters I really like, but I'm not really a huge fan of our main female character. I feel like she built a lot of resentment towards the male character, and she just keeps revisiting the past and she keeps talking about it. It just feels very repetitive at the moment. I'm kind of like waiting for it to get better, and I'm hoping that's gonna happen. But basically both of these characters are attending their best friend's wedding. They all grew up together, they've known each other for a very long time, and Eli, our male main character, he is very unreliable. People kind of like they can rely on him, but when it comes to like real things, they know that they can't because he's so, you know, wrapped around work. And Georgia, she's more of like a people pleaser. She'll like let people walk all over her. They broke up for some reason, we don't know why yet. We kind of get like hints towards what happened. I just feel like it's already written what's gonna happen, so we'll see. I mean, I feel like the way that I'm talking right now, it just seems like I'm very negative towards this book, but it just feels like I've just read this book so many different times. I feel like it's very repetitive, so I still have an open mind. I know it's hard to believe, but we'll see. I'm just gonna stop talking because it does feel like I'm being very negative towards this book, but I promise I'm not. We are about 18 hours into it and I finally finished the X Vows. And honestly, when it comes to books that people really enjoy and I don't, I go on Goodreads to see if there are other people that feel the same way as me, and luckily I did find them. I just felt very indifferent with both characters, especially our main female character. I just didn't really like them together. I just feel like they didn't really have enough chemistry. And one of the comments that I saw was that it just felt very bland, and I totally agree with that. In some parts I just felt like there's just like no chemistry whatsoever in some areas, and in the beginning it was really fun, and at some point they go on a little adventure to essentially save their best friend's wedding, and I really love that part. It was so good. But once like that little adventure was, you know, done with, it just went right back to bland. There were some really great parts, but for the most part it just felt like it was dragging. I was just waiting for more and it just never really happened. So for that, I'm just gonna give it a 3 stars because like I said, there were some enjoyable parts, but it was kind of like in between for me. Like I was okay with reading it, but you know, like it's not one of my favorite books. It was just kind of like an okay book for me. We have 18 hours left and we're gonna be starting our next book, which is Tom Felton's Beyond the Wand. I've been eyeing this book for such a long time. Essentially, it's basically his memoir of him before Harry Potter, during, and then afterwards. That just sounds so interesting to me because personally for me, I love that world. I love the books. I've read them all. I've watched the movies multiple times. So seeing his point of view and, you know, like reliving it all through his point of view just sounds so good. I will be listening to majority of this book just because a lot of people really recommend listening to the audiobook because he does narrate the whole book. I'm just so excited to get back into this world and just see it through someone else's point of view. Like it literally has pictures of him, you know, during Harry Potter, and it's just I just really want to read it. So we're gonna go ahead and read Beyond the Wand. I'm currently making some food because it is almost 7. We still have 15 hours left and I'm going to be making food so I can kind of wind down for the night. This day actually went by pretty quickly, but it turns out that this video here, I did not record the audio, so I have to redo that. But what I was saying is that I am basically almost done with this book. It's so good. I do have a couple things tabbed just because I really do want to come back to this and reread those moments because they were just so wholesome and they're like my favorite parts of this book. And it's really refreshing to read this book, especially after I finished the last book, because obviously this is a memoir. This is someone's life and him going through what he went through in the beginning, like even before he even got casted. Like he talks about how he got casted in the beginning. Like he had different roles. Like he had a lot of experience when it came to actual acting. Like he got into this space pretty young and he did really well. Like some of the people that he was working on at a really young age, I was very surprised by. Like it's basically just like small little memories of different important parts of his life, and it just felt really refreshing and really good to read about. And the cherry on top is that he actually, you know, narrates this book, and it's just so fun to just listen to him because you can really hear and just feel him laughing or smiling and just like, you know, recounting those times. It was just so fun to listen to. So if you do want to just listen to it, like you don't even have to own the book, you can. It's just really fun to like listen to. I got the Spider-Man Lego set, and if you guys don't know, I love Spider-Man. Anything to do with Spider-Man, Miles Morales, all of that, the whole universe, I love. So I'm super excited to build that and, you know, put it up on my walls. Let's go ahead, finish this, and start our Lego set. I actually don't know how well it's gonna go because my youngest cat, she's still a baby, and last time I built a Lego set, it didn't go that well because she, you know, puts things in her mouth, she plays with things. So I'm hoping it's not as complicated as it was when I was building those. Yeah, let's go ahead and start building that. I'm super excited. about to be 11 p.m. and I think I'm actually going to stop the timer and pick it up tomorrow just because I'm so tired. Like, I'm genuinely so tired. I cannot continue to read, and I really like this book a lot. This is The Wedding People, and this book, you guys, is so good. I was actually very surprised that I really liked it, and I really truly want to read it. And I know that if I continue to read it now, it's just gonna, like, you know, come in one ear and out the other. I'm not gonna pay attention to it fully, and I truly want to know what happens. Like, this kind of gives me like Emily Henry meets Ellen Hildebrand. Like, I really love this book so much. How this book starts, I would definitely see if like it would be a little bit triggering for you, because it definitely has, you know, heavy topics, and one of them being suicide, because our main character goes to a hotel to, you know, and so you go through that and you kind of see from her past point like all the things that she's went through. She's, you know, like, she's really lived through it. Like, I feel so bad for her being at the hotel, and throughout that time she sees that there is a wedding, you know, taking place, and she meets the actual bride, and, you know, like, she's, I don't know, like, I just feel like their dynamic is just so good. I really love them together. So it takes you between, you know, like, history of her past and like her ex-husband, because he also left her, because, you know, like, they've been through so much together. I'm gonna stop the timer. I'm going to stop reading and we're gonna pick it up tomorrow. Technically read 2.5 books today, and then tomorrow we'll see how many we end up finishing. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited to finish this book. Can't say it enough. Highly recommend. It's such a good book. Finished The Wedding People, and honestly this was so good. I definitely understand why people loved it so much. Like, obviously, like, the beginning was so sad, and, you know, like, her reasoning as to why she went to the hotel in the first place, she definitely had a mission, and I'm just so happy with how everything turned out. And there's just so much to this book than just that. Like, there's just so much humor, you know, there's like friendships that develop, you see like different stages of life, and just, you really understand that if you're going through something and you read this book, you start to realize that people are human, and, you know, things happen, life happens, and people change, and, you know, like, it's just like such a good feel-good book. And then the next book that we're going to be reading is Beg, Borrowed, or Steal by Sarah Adams. This is the 3rd book in the When in Rome series. I've read both of those books. I love the first one. I gave the second one 2 stars, and this one, I knew that she was coming out with the 3rd book, but I didn't know it was this soon. So basically with these books, they all follow the siblings of the main guy in When in Rome. This is his other sister. The 2nd book followed his youngest sister, and this one follows his sister that's a teacher. So I'm curious to see how this is gonna go. I think I'm gonna like this one a little bit more, just because I did like her character much more than the 2nd girl, like the youngest girl. We're gonna start this. We actually have to start this now because I have 6 hours left until we finish this readathon. Hopefully I can finish this in 6 hours. I think that I can. It's 350 pages basically, so I think that I can finish it. Fingers crossed, we'll see. So let's go ahead and start Beg, Borrow, or Steal. I'm so excited. Actually, I've been wanting to read a rom-com, so I think this is like the perfect rom-com. Sarah Adams does really good rom-coms. I read her other book, The Cheat Sheet. Super good too. I really like that one. So let's go ahead and start.